Hello, English students of Central Lakes College. English major Jeff Johnson here again. A little frustrated. My son, who's a complete genius, except when he's not, brought me this beautiful camera that I was going to make videos with, and apparently we don't have SD cards that are fast enough. He left them behind. So twice now I've tried to make something that would not look like a crap iPhone 6 video. I guess I'm just going to have to figure that out later. I bet that's annoying. So just to connect a little bit and let you know that I'm here thinking about you for the third time today. I felt a couple of sniffles last night. I got nervous. I thought, man, am I getting sick? Dang it. And I went on the internet to see if I could, in a quality way, do some DIY things that would preemptively help me not get COVID, this terrible pandemic virus. And I found some pretty good ideas. I took a sauna for about half an hour at 180 degrees. I think that helped. And I stood on my head a while, not long, but a little while. I think that helped too. And this morning when I woke up, I ate a Tide Pod. And then just today, just a little bit on the hour, just a couple of sips. I've been drinking bleach. And this is all working. And I'm being ridiculous right now and probably inappropriately satirical in the middle of what's happening to us all. But it brings up a second story that I want to tell you. This week I attended my first ever Zoom meeting with my brothers and sisters at Central Lakes College. And it was really an amazing thing. Most of us had never used it before. And you get this address. It's pretty intuitive. You click on it, and pretty quickly I could see my screen was full of little screens. I could see 25 teachers in a row. And I could hit the arrow, and I could get another 25, and then another 25. And there were about 150 of us, professors, all at once. Just kind of blinking and smiling and overwhelmed to see each other. I think the premise is if you unmute your thing and you speak, you get to be the big screen. And at first, none of us knew how to behave. A couple things happened immediately. We started marveling over each other's backgrounds. Kent Montgomery had this giant squirrel behind him. And I had my books, because my books are such a comfort to me, my poetry books. And we observed in a hurry that Adam Marcotte had on this pretty ridiculous looking hat. He was obviously in his shop working on his Datsun Z, a 50-year-old sports car. And that turned and devolved quickly into a hat contest. And I ran and got this stupid hat. And I was saddened near the end of the meeting because one of the teachers that doesn't need to be named from the tech side of things was upset, and not without justification. He said, look, I joined this meeting to figure out what the deal is. He wanted facts. And he told us that he didn't log on to see a hat contest and hear remarks about people's ridiculous backgrounds, whatever they were. And I understand him. I can teach online. I can do this. He is going to have a hard time teaching people how to run bobcats and bulldozers online. Generally, we don't send those home with people in the system. So we're all, being honest, we were just reaching for a little bit of levity up against the tragic, which I think is important. And we're all feeling the same things. I've said this to you all, and students, thousands of students at Central Lakes College for 10 years. We have to stick together as a community, class as community, because we never know what we're going to have to live through together. And we are definitely living through something together. And because we all have the same human heart, we're all feeling the same things. And I would admit to feeling a lot of different emotions in recent days. I would admit to being a little bit scared. I'm not ashamed of that. I feel overwhelmed. I'm a little grumpy. I feel a sadness. We're all in uncharted territory, but I'm also trying to be joyful and trying to be grateful and prayerful. And that's not everybody's scene, but it's mine. And let's just experience these things together. I think school will help. I think getting school going again next Monday will help, even if it will be almost a month, given that week before and then the 3-week interlude that's been created by catastrophe. And we're disconnected from each other, and I am proposing a grand reconnection. And I'm going to take a shot at doing anything I can because necessity dictates. I just want to throw everything and the kitchen sink at this project. I'll get this camera going somehow. I'll use this. I'll use this my iPhone. I'll use email, texting, D2L, social media, whatever serves as tools to let you know that I want to keep serving you, witnessing your lives, teaching you things about literature and life, and help you all grow up more. And I'm growing up too, so I'll do whatever is necessary. I think Zoom gets tiresome. I got worn out by it by the 45-minute time. The 45-minute meeting was over. So let's just use a lot of different things and mash them up and see what we like and what we prefer. I just want to read you a poem by Tina Chang. And I got a couple things to say about the Comp 2 project. If you're in my humanities class or my honors lit class, don't feel bad about hitting the stop button on that. And then I got one final thing that I want to tell you. I was supposed to introduce Tina Chang last Friday in Chalberg, and I'm holding here her beautiful book, Hybrida, that brand new book that just came out. And the good news is that the State Arts Board is going to let me keep my MAD poetry money until July 1st of 2021, or longer, if this takes longer. So my reading series, Verse Like Water, is actually in pretty good shape for next year. I got money I didn't spend in my budget, and I got 2 grants stashed away in a drawer in unmarked bills. So I'll be hosting poets when this pandemic goes the way of all pandemics. Quick comment about the poem. Poets throughout the years, the centuries, have had fun investigating what can be done with homophones. And one of the most famous ones is the sun, S-U-N, the sun in the sky, and the sun, S-O-N, like I have. And the most famous example of that is Shakespeare, who did it more often and more beautifully than anyone. It's the beginning of Richard III. Now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by the sun of York. And all the clouds that lured above our house lie buried in the bosom of the ocean deep. Tina Chang, the end of the road. At the end of the road was a sun, S-U-N. Once there were 3 children, all with different fates. One was bound to say yes all his life, head in books, hand open for blistered discipline. When the slap came down, he looked out the window toward a country he couldn't name. The second child spoke of the dream state, where nothing could be held down. He headed out at morning, worked till his sweat made an ocean of wonder, something blue, but never forgotten. He was the wild earth, growing without limit or reason. The third child ran away, breathed and cursed at history. He was nothing if not righteous. I can see him now, standing in the field, ready to run, but not ruined, ready to wrap his fist to throat to be free. I love this son more than anything. Now my son no longer. And I hope to meet her next year. So Comp 2 people, just repeating some ideas and trying to make this clearer. I ran about 25 artists by you. Artists who sought and created beauty in the 20th century against the tragic, against the horrific. And that is very much what we are doing. I can't emphasize enough how important it is for you to keep the text, the project, concentrated and centered on primary readings. It is far more important that Elijah Keppers reads Primal Levy than read about Primal Levy. Katie Swanson, I know I owe you those Gertrude Stein books, but I found them, and I'm going to get them to you. It's more important for Katie to read Gertrude Stein than read about her. I will help you any way I can, somehow. But you got to reach out and you got to try to get that help. And if I don't get back to you or forget about you, the emails that are just pouring in, help me focus. You want to read about the artist. You want read the artist, and then you want to get yourself just a few sources from EBSCO or JSTOR, and then read about them. You're going to make a claim. You're going to back it up, and you're going to get help backing it up from other people. I was hanging up maple buckets yesterday, these old 2-gallon aluminum buckets, tapping on my trees. I think I put 40, 45 out. Sap's really running right now. I'll be cooking it soon. And I was out there in my woods trying to think of a universal thesis that would work for everyone. I asked myself, would it be possible to find a claim, a thesis, that everyone uses that somehow created different projects as different as snowflakes? And I came up with one. The theme of all my courses is beauty. The subject of my courses is my students, their imaginations and their creativity. But the large thing, the most important thing to me, is to seek and think about beauty and our relationship to it. A dead simple thesis always begins with the phrase, I believe. I think a neat way to go, to make it simple, would to begin your paper somewhere on that first page with the claim, I believe that such and such a writer, whoever that is beautiful because I believe that this writer sought beauty for these effects, rhetorically. And it's whoever you choose, Primo Levi, Vaughan Williams, Kurt Vonnegut, Shostakovich, whatever your choices are. You're going to find people who picked up pens, who approached keyboards on pianos, who mixed paint for a painting they wanted to dream, who approached clay to sculpt something, because that is what we do. This is ultimately a project grounded in the humanities. The humanities is the study of human beings and the ways that we chronicle and record our lived experiences with art. So you couldn't have anything more squarely in that tradition. At this point, we're probably looking at a 7 to 8 page paper, as in try to crawl onto the 7th page. We only have 6 weeks to go, starting on Monday. And we also got to keep reading, too, on top of that. We're going to read Adam Zagajewski, even though he couldn't come here from Paris. One final idea, a couple final ideas, an idea and a request. So what's coming your way next? Well, where I'm sitting here in my peapod in my beautiful 20-acre lake home is about 3 miles away from St. John's University, which means I also have dwelled for a long time in the shadow of St. John's Abbey. And I've got a pretty complicated relationship with those monks, as you know. But to say something positive, you can't spend half your life at St. John's without internalizing Benedictine values. St. Benedict was a dude who, in the 5th or 6th century, took a look at the corruption that was around him in the Roman Empire, and he said, you know what, I'm out of here. And he just went into the wilderness to pray and to resolve to be who he was going to become historically, St. Benedict. Men wanted to go live with him as monks, and he started up something endless and astonishing that held Europe together pretty much until the last couple weeks, and that is monasticism. He started up a tradition of monasteries that began to develop all over Europe, and I live by one. And there's another one in town where the Sisters of the Order of St. Benedict live. You can't spend half your life first learning and then teaching at St. John's without taking in some of those Benedictine values. His book, The Rule of St. Benedict, begins with the sentence, listen with the ear of your heart. And I simply want to tell you that my favorite Benedictine value of all is stability. And you don't have to be a religious person to be interested in inhabiting that idea. Stability for a Benedictine monk is a promise. I'm going to live here in community with other people, and I'm going to work, and I'm going to pray. And it's dead simple. I really value that. Now, we can't be in a community now because of a phrase that I have really conceived a towering hatred of, social distancing. Why do I hate that? And yet it's a necessity because we're trying not to get sick. But you can live in stability, trying to be peaceful and grateful and humble with whatever is around you in terms of friends or family. And let's think about that idea. You could look it up and read about it on the internet. I don't even need to say anything more about it. I'm going to try to become a YouTube star, and I'm going to need your help. You're going to need to like my videos. I need you to share them. I need you to comment. I'm not looking for pats on the back, but I think this is the part where I become just planet-wide famous. Could happen. Maybe. God bless you all. More of these are coming, and I've just got to get